I'm here about 6 kilometers outside of Ypres, and we've had another kind of flat stretch here starting at Ypres, and you can see there's like a valley and a bit of a flat land again, and here some of the hills start again and it gets more mountainous. And towards Melk then we will start in what is known in Austria today as Wachau. It's a UNESCO area, very beautiful, very touristic, a lot of heritage monuments there, very nice landscape and wine region. And yeah, so here you can see it's a typical spot. That's why at Ypres they have a Burgos, because here are some flatlands that go in a kind of big valley for a few kilometers further north, and then they end again in some very hilly mountainous terrains of the Waldviertel, very densely forested. I made it to Stift Melk, which is one of the biggest monasteries in Europe, and I think it is the most visited tourism attraction in Lower Austria, with Carnuntum actually, if I'm not totally wrong, on second place. It's absolutely stunning. I can only urge everyone that's nearby to visit here. It's just on the shores of the Danube, here with some lovely wetlands, forests again, a very nice old city, and the monastery is like a city in itself. So here my journey ends today, and tomorrow we'll cross into the Wachau. Walking today with completely new shoes, with quite experimental Kalige that Martin Moser made for me last second. They're based on mainly on iconography from the 4th and 5th century, and we don't have any original find for them, but they're compiled from several different originals and techniques that were used. So some of the carving pattern is from older Kalige, and the nailing pattern on the sole, foot sole, is from a find from the 5th century from Britain, if I recall correctly. And so far they are totally fine. I have absolutely no blisters from them. I'm already walking 12 kilometers. The problem with them is mostly the sole is a bit thinner than my Ramschau boots, and I'm having problems now from walking on the tarmac, so I'm not gonna reach my intended goal today of attempting 30 kilometers with armor and backpack and those new shoes. Of course I wasn't gonna reach it by trying completely new shoes, but I like daft goals and trying to go as far as I can, because if I set my goals and limits quite attainable, quite realistically, well then I just walk there and say, oh fine, I did it. But if I set them very, very high, I'm bound to go beyond what I feel is comfortable or what I feel is realistic. So I'm bound to push myself even more and go far beyond what I'd usually do if I plan everything realistically and meticulously. And like, I'd say, attention rant incoming, I'm quite fed up with all those people that are only living with secure plans and from plan to plan, and they're so afraid of just jumping into something in case something could go not according to plan, or like a bit of improvisation needed. Go out, make your experiences, and see, for Christ's sake, how much more your body and your mind is able to take. Just get used to living the life. Jesus Christ. So, rant over. Very interesting phenomenon. Here we have two rivers mixing, with the water quality being very different, obviously. Looking towards Melk and Arelape, Pöchlan, we can see that we have again here a change of landscape with another Danube plain between Ybbs and Melk, and now the landscape is changing again into more hills, steep hills and valleys, guarded here by this majestic castle, the entrance to the UNESCO World Heritage region called Wachau. And they're very famous for their wine, they're famous for their apricots and schnapps, and all the castles that are lining those hills along the Danube. There's, generally speaking, more Roman infrastructure that is preserved in the Wachau than in the very similar region that we traversed between Grain and Ybbs, where the Roman infrastructure is not that visible or even not that present. It's much more dense in this area here. Probably also because of the very old wine-making culture that dates back to Roman times there. Here we see the modern flood walls protecting the villages from floodings. Because many of the villages here have been devastated time and time again, until very recently, by big floodings. So they finally decided to build something to protect them. See them at the back here as well. Pretty big walls and gates. I'm about 2 kilometers away from Axbach, and just above Axbach you can see the ruins of Ackstein, very famous medieval castle controlling the entire area here. Once belonged to a very famous family of knights that made a living out of taxing and robbing merchants in the area. And it ultimately got defeated by the first Habsburgs that arrived in Austria. They had several of their castles destroyed in the ensuing conflict. St. Johann im Mauertale. This is where the first Burgos in Wachau is on my route, and it's about one of those two hills here. It's on about 220 meters altitude, and it's above the Danube. And the actual Limes route across this area is behind here. It goes from here further down this valley, and that's where the actual Limes route is. It's secure from raiders and from floodings. And there's always been some sort of little ways that then come to the Danube, Stichstraßen in German, and they lead to those burgi that are here. The Danube is just here, flowing here, and the next burgus is around the corner. So as it was already late, I don't have the time to check it out now and to look for it, because it's not really in any card here, so I'd have to scout around and look for it, but I'll come back here and find it then. In 2015, Oliver Fries from the Danube University Krems discovered some rests of Roman buildings included in the church building. And this place is called St. Johann im Mauertal. And normally in this area, when there is something with Mauer in the name of the place, it shows that there was a Roman presence there before, like Zeiselmauer, Dreismauer, Mautern, etc. So it's very possible that one of the Roman watchtowers along the Limes here was actually exactly where the church is, and was subsequently included in the medieval church that stands there now. There's several Roman stones and some indications that are basically included in the building material of the church, and which can be seen inside in the tower, similar as in Pöchlan. I also read that on one of the hills here behind me, about 211 meters above the Danube, there's also rests of a tower, and the road that leads into the valleys back here, you can see it there behind me. This road leads to the actual Limes road that starts here. The road that leads further down the stream from here wasn't really passable, or didn't even exist up until the 18th century. So most people would have used the road that is further back there in the valleys of the Dunkelsteiner Wald. Behind me there's lots of Roman findings there, and it merits an own journey to walk over this road. I have not the time at the moment to scout out all the things. I will come back here and make the journey through the entire Dunkelsteiner Wald and gather all the Roman architecture and roads, etc., that we can find there. So possibly there was more than one tower in the area. The next tower is about 12 kilometers, as far as I know, down the stream, and with a similar setup, again with a little valley coming out of the forested hills back there from the main road and ending here at the Danube. You see the setup. And the Roman road that leads back to the main Limes road.